thank you so much for joining us today, Arash, from LA Tutors.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Could you tell me a little bit about your business, how it got started and how it's grown?
Sure. So LA Tutors, we are a private tutoring company. We specialize in academic tutoring from K to 12, and also we work with some college students and adults. We started the business about 11 years ago by myself. I was actually just graduated from UCLA myself, and I was tutoring mostly math and helping students with SAT when I was an undergrad. And then short after graduating from UCLA, I found a passion in teaching students and learning. So that's how I started with a couple of students that I was tutoring them myself to begin with back in 2009, 2010. And we officially started the company, started hiring tutors and connecting them with students to teach them. Primarily, we started with SAT and ACT prep, and then throughout the years, we expanded to academic tutoring. We work with elementary students, we work with middle school and high school students, and then after that, we expanded to GRE and GMAT, helping students get into grad school, and also adults if they need to learn at any point in their life.
That's amazing. I think to be working so closely with students at different levels and being able to help them kind of meet those goals.
Great. Yes, it's a great feeling to see. We've had students that started with us in middle school about like 8-9 years ago, and then we helped them throughout the middle school and high school, and now they're in college. Right. So it's good to see them grow, see them go from one level in their life to the next one, and then end up in college and graduate.
Mm-hmm. And what is your vision kind of for the next 5 years for LA Tutors?
So during pandemic last year, given everything was done remotely, we opened our offices in San Francisco and New York. So we were initially only in LA. And then while everyone was working from home, we started working with students in San Francisco and New York. And we have grown that. We are hiring people. We were doing it mostly online, and now we are hiring people in person in those cities. So the vision for the next 5 years is to grow those main cities and also get into some of the main other cities in US.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good. Do you have any idea of what cities you want to expand to next specifically, or still working on it?
Yeah, probably like the bigger cities like Chicago, probably Florida, Miami. The cities that we work with a lot of private schools. So the cities that there are more private schools in are going to be next on our list.
Okay, that makes sense. And because tutoring has its own kind of very special kind of structure, how did you come up with a revenue model? What revenue model do you use?
That's a great question. So mostly we work with clients and we charge them for the services. So our revenue model is online sales through our website and direct sales. That's pretty much the revenue model that we have. We have clients come in either on the website or over the telephone call, and direct sale is the revenue model that we have. They usually purchase for a number of hours in advance, and they paid upfront, and then they use the services, in a month, in 2 months. Sometimes they pay for like 100, 200 hours that you use it throughout the entire school year as well.
Okay. Well, that's, I think, a very useful way to be able to structure that, because then I'm having that money up front, then you can pay the expenses associated for taking on each new student, I'm assuming.
Yes. Yeah. So they to tell you a little bit more about how we operate and how we use those funds. About 60-70% of the money that the clients pay goes to their tutor, and that's our main expense basically. Other than rent, we have offices in Beverly Hills, in California, San Francisco, and New York, and those locations rent is extremely expensive. So the main expenses that we have is one, rent for our offices, and the second one is our employees. We work with highly credentialed instructors, and in order for it to be able to attract the best talent in the country, we offer them a very high salary for them to work for us.
Okay, I know that makes sense, because you're basically reinvesting in your clients and in your business when you retain that talent.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So how do you decide, like, when you're able to bring on more people? Is that just based on like each student, I guess, like a number of students you need, and you're like, okay, when we get this many students, then we'll get someone else, or how does that work?
That's a great question. So it's pretty much based on the requests that we get from our clients. As we open the offices in San Francisco and New York, and now that people are vaccinated and feel more comfortable meeting in person, obviously we have to bring more people on board in those cities that specifically can travel to student homes. So that's one way that we know that we need to bring more help. There are still a lot of clients. We have clients out of the country as well that mostly meet via Zoom and other remote services. So for those, we can hire instructors anywhere in the country. We also, for our office, we have program managers and directors to be able to oversee all the tutors and clients. So as we grow and we have more clients, we need to bring more program managers and directors to be able to oversee and coordinate the sessions for our tutors and clients.
No, that makes sense. So talking a little bit more about cash flow specifically, how do you manage, I guess, what programs do you use to manage your finances or cash flow projections?
That's a great question. So we use mainly two programs. We use Salesforce, which is a huge company, and their reporting is phenomenal. Everything is customizable and pretty amazing. So we use mostly that for reporting, and it gives us really detailed reports that we customize ourselves to see on a monthly basis, on an annual basis, what services bring the most revenue, what's working, what's not working. So that's mostly, we use that for reporting purposes for revenue and profit and loss. And also we use our own internal program we have our own tutoring program to be able to schedule the sessions. That's mostly internally to be able to know who's meeting with who, how many hours has been used, and to be able to schedule all the tutoring lessons.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense. And when you're seeing all these kind of extensive reports, how far out do you typically project?
We usually project a few years in advance. We look to see what we have coming up for the rest of the years. Given that we've been in business for 11 years now, looking at the reporting from the previous years give us a very good indication. Other than 2020, which was a very interesting and different year for everybody, that nothing was predictable. We basically look at the reporting from the previous years. We obviously have busier months, which are the months that students have final exams, and there are a lot of testing. Usually August to the end of the year, August to November, is a very busy time for us. There's a lot of students taking the SAT, ACT, students going back to school. So it will help the previous year reporting help us to know exactly what to expect. And also, obviously, we're going to look at projections for the next few years as well, where we would like to be, what we want to focus on, what cities we want to get into, what services are working better that we want to put more effort and energy on as well.
Right. And in addition to that, I wanted to ask, because we had talked about COVID a little bit and the fact that you kind of need to switch gears when everything went remote. How do you decide, I guess, to kind of change that kind of operational structure, and like when you're going to, I guess, potentially take on new expenses for changing? How do you decide how do you make those decisions? I guess. What is the process?
That's a great question. I think let's go to COVID for a second, because before COVID, about 80% of our work was in person.
Okay.
We had our tutors going to student homes and our offices and work with them. When COVID happened, pretty much that 80% went to zero for close to a year. And we changed gears. We used Zoom and other services for the past few years. And we were able to very quickly change gears, not only to make everyone moving their sessions remotely, but also a lot of the standardized testing, which was a big part of our business, was canceled due to not being able to go and take an exam. And we were able to change gears to help students more with academics, given that a lot of schools were closed and there were a lot of concerns in the past year and a half for students not to be able to go to school. So we were able to change the gears and move all of our services to remote, and also put more focus on academics rather than a standardized test prep. And to answer your question specifically, we always have had the vision that we need to have some budget on the side if such changes happen. Things like this happen all the time. A lot of universities now, they're making SAT optional, right? We always have a budget on the side to be able to have training for tutors if we need to change our services, to be able to have training for our tutors and staff, to be able to teach them new technology. In the past 11 years that I've been doing this, I don't even think Salesforce was around or was that popular 10, 11 years ago. When I started this, I was doing everything manually in Excel and Word document, and things have changed so much. Technology is changing every single day. So we always have a budget, and when we look at our revenue and we are doing our forecasts and projections, to be able to have a budget aside for training, we're so proud to be able to incorporate technology into our business so much. Everything is basically automated. We use Zapier to automate all the tasks, everything. And all of our website, Salesforce, Zapier, our scheduling system, they all talk together, and they're all basically connected to be able to make it easier for our staff, to be able to make it easier for our employees and instructors not to have to do everything manually.
Right. That makes so much sense. And then especially when that technology is now available. But obviously pivoting, it takes some time to kind of figure out, okay, what is this new tool? How can we use it, and how can we integrate it effectively? Or a certain way of doing things isn't working. Is there like a threshold or like something that you track? Do you get feedback from tutors? How does that work?
Yes, we do. That's a great question. So we do. We work very closely with the office staff, with our program directors and managers, and also with our instructors and tutors. We pretty much talk on a daily and weekly basis to get feedback from everybody. Not only that, but also we have a formal semi-annual evaluation for everybody to not only provide feedback to them, but also get their feedback to see what's working and what's not working, right? So when we started, after 11 years ago that I was doing everything in Excel manually, we started with a scheduling system. We started using a third-party vendor to schedule all the tutoring sessions. And after using it for a year, we got a lot of feedback from our instructors and our tutors that it was very difficult, that platform was extremely difficult to use. So at that point, after getting enough feedback that this is not a very intuitive, user-friendly platform, we decided to basically eliminate that and build our own platform. So I think feedback and open communication with staff and employees is super duper crucial in any business. And we have seen that repeating again and again and again. If you get feedback from one person that may not be tech savvy, maybe you can have a training for them and teach them. If you get feedback from 12 people or 15 people or 20 employees that this is very difficult to use, then you're going to have to reevaluate and you're going to have to make some changes accordingly.
Great. And you had mentioned earlier that you have a portion of the budget set aside for incorporating new technology and kind of working these things out, or if you need to change suddenly, like what happened with COVID. What percentage would you recommend people normally keep aside for these kind of expenditures?
I think it's always, it really depends on the business. It really depends, like if it's a business that uses technology a lot or not. But for our business, given that, we use technology every single day, we definitely put aside about 5% of the revenue to be able to invest back in technology, invest back in training, and invest back in making sure that every single employee is comfortable using the platforms that we adapt. And sometimes some of these platforms may not be as easy and intuitive to learn. So having trainings in place on a regular basis is very important for any business.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. And my last question today is, do you have any other advice you'd like to share for people who might be struggling with cash flow for their business?
Sure. I think looking, especially for businesses that, make it beyond the first year or two, is super duper important to be able to start using either a platform. I absolutely love Salesforce, and I highly recommend it for any business that may need a software management system. But looking at the reports from the previous years, previous months, previous quarters, and trying to make sure you look for the next year or two to know what you can expect, and that will help you with the cash flow is super important. There are a lot of businesses, I have a lot of friends, a lot of entrepreneurs that I know that they don't take the cash flow into the account, and then comes anything like COVID or anything else that may have a block for them. Unfortunately, it just doesn't allow them to continue the business. So having reporting in system, looking ahead and trying to sort of see every quarter and every year what to expect is super duper important for any business.
Thank you so much, Arash, for your insight, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. I'm pleased, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.